Good morning, Grenada. Our sister Miles, Carriacou, Petit Martinique. Good morning. It's Monday, the 3rd day of April, which means a brand new month. At least 3 days already. We into the 3rd day, I should say, of this brand new month. Welcome to another edition of To The Point for today. Let me say good morning to those of you listening via Classic Radio, 105.5, 105.9. Good morning. Those of you via GBN TV. You're viewing Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channels 20. Good morning, welcome. What about our social media audience? Those of you via our Facebook page or YouTube channels, welcome. And I was told I always seem to forget those who are viewing by the GBN webpage, gbn.gd. Good morning to you, welcome. And for those of you viewing via TV, I guess you have noticed that I have a guest, a lovely lady with me this morning. That's Miss Alison Haynes with me this morning. Miss Haynes, good morning, and how are you? Welcome to The Point this morning.
Good morning. I'm fine and very happy to be here this morning.
All right. And Miss Haynes with us this morning. She's from the Ministry of Agriculture, I could say basically. Ministry of Agriculture. We're talking, the soil survey initiative it will be implemented, is in the process of being implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture. We'll be chatting about that. And before we get into the meat of the conversation, we should be having another guest coming with us, but that individual will be a little bit late, so when he pops in, we will accommodate him. Alison, for the benefit for the listeners, viewers out there, hope you don't mind me calling you first name. Hope you don't mind.
No problem.
All right. I always get a tendency of I like to go by first names. Just that. Yeah, hope you don't mind. For the benefit for the listeners, viewers out there, tell us something about Alison Haynes. For folks wanted to know you being here. Sometimes folks don't like to get into details about themselves. I know that, but tell us something about Alison.
Okay, so good morning to the host again, and
I'm GT. You can simply
good morning, GT.
Good.
And good morning to the listening public. So, about myself, I'm Alison Haynes, an agronomist. I've worked with the Ministry of Agriculture within the agronomy division for over 10 years. Yeah. And today I am here in the capacity of focal point for a specific project, the soil care project. And that's the short name for it. That project has a very, very long title.
Yeah.
So we're
going to get into the technical part of it. Ooh.
Yeah, so we tend to shorten the name of the project, have a catchy name, and the name would tell you a little bit about what the project is about, soil care. So I'm here, I'm the focal point for that project here in Grenada, and I'm here to speak a little bit about that project, and I want to speak specifically to the National Soil Survey that is being conducted under that project, just to inform the public of what we're doing to keep you so that we'll build awareness surrounding the project.
You said something a while ago before we really get into the meat of the conversation this morning. Agronomist, why is that particular job title you choose? Agronomist.
Well, I always found the science and understanding plants interesting, particularly because plants cannot move, they cannot speak. I always found it intriguing as just to understand how we can help this organism that cannot move from its location, cannot tell you what's happening.
We could do them what we want. in a joyful way.
So I just wanted to, help care for the plants, as well as agronomy has a lot to do with soil science as well. And it's about helping farmers to improve their technology. We know that farmers are a group of persons out there working hard behind the scenes. They may not necessarily have the scientific background to help to help improve their production. So that's where I come in, and I feel very pleased to help them, because I have a better understanding of what's going on with the plant scientifically and what's happening with the soil, so I can help the farmers improve their production, and most importantly sustain their livelihoods.
That's interesting, because you speak about, we always hear from a youngster growing up, you hear how important to have good soil. You understand? And we always look at it as you just You want to grow something, you gather the seeds or the seedlings or whatever you get, and you just put them and expect it to grow. But there's another process that goes through that. That is very much important. That's where individuals like yourself will be able to talk to farmers and let them, whenever they plant, it's just not a waste of their time because they didn't do whatever they do properly. How important is soil preparation for farmers? I know it's not the main item of our conversation, but how important is that? Before we get into
soil preparation is very important. It's the beginning of the production cycle, something that you need to do. A good soil preparation could lead to improved yields. All things goes well, no disease, no bad weather, could lead to good yield. In some crops, it's more important to have a good soil preparation than others. So, for example, crops like root crops like carrots. If you want to have good quality carrots that are not forking, sometimes we have carrots with we call it forking, two prangs, you see, two pieces coming out or deform. You have a number of deformities.
So that's in a plain, you call it a deformed carrot.
Deformed carrots, right? So it's not marketable. To avoid that, to ensure that you have quality carrots that are marketable, it's important land preparation. We must prepare that soil to have fine tilt. You must remove all of the debris. Once the carrots, when germinating, comes in contact, let's say with a small pebble or a stone, then you tend to have the carrots growing forking and setting up different and becoming deformed. Even for seed germination, all these things are very important. You want to ensure that fine tilt so that the carrot will remain at a certain level in the soil. I'm just using carrot as an example, but for all crops, land preparation is important, ensuring that you construct the drains. That's a part of land preparation, construction of drains so that water could be removed from the soil adequately. You don't have waterlogging and disease build up and rotting of your produce or your crops and this kind of thing. So it's very, very important land preparation.
All right. Now let's get into a bit of the conversation that we are here for this morning is the soil survey initiative that's been put on by the Ministry of Agriculture. What's the reason for the soil survey this time around?
All right. So we are a farming nation, and agriculture could influence what happens in the soil as well as the soil influence what happens with agriculture. We know in Grenada we say that we have the most productive soils. Most Grenadians believe.
Do we?
Well, that is the purpose. That is the purpose of the soil survey. The results would tell us the type of soils that we have. If our soils are indeed the most productive in the world, and if we can grow almost anything that we want. So just to say that the last time a soil survey was conducted in Grenada, it was in 1959.
Wow.
That's a very long time.
That's a long time ago.
That's over 60 years ago. So the intent of this soil survey is to help us to update our soil information system, to strengthen that soil information system, create a database that we as technicians could use in the Ministry of Agriculture and also persons outside of the Ministry of Agriculture, maybe in the engineering field, can use to make decisions. Decisions that would lead to sustainability. In terms of agriculture, decisions that will lead to better management of the soil. In terms of construction and this kind of field, decisions as to what kind of development takes place in a particular area. For us as the public, for example, where we should construct our houses. So the soil survey it's very important for us. We have not done it, as I said, in 60 years, but if just going back to agriculture changed significantly in 60 years. In Grenada,
so
we have changed in terms of the type of crops we grow, the types of and the quantity of agrochemicals that we use, herbicides that we use, and these practices affect what happens with our soil, the quality of soils that we have. So it's important now. We're talking about achieving the Sustainable Development Goals set by the UN. There's one particular goal, 15.3, that speaks to combating desertification, reducing soil degradation, or reversing it, even talking about restoring our soil and reversing this land degradation and reaching land degradation neutrality by 2030. And I think this project is particularly important for us in helping us towards achieving progress with the towards achieving the sustainable development goals. Because now we'll have an idea we'll have information on our soils, and so we'll be able to make informed decisions to better manage our soils.
Tell me, the process of the survey, how does that go about?
Okay, so the survey will take place in Grenada. We launched it last week, Monday, and we're starting with the sampling. We have to collect soil samples nationwide throughout Grenada. So the entire island will be surveyed.
But would it be focused more on areas where agriculture is more prudent?
So let me tell you. So we're gonna do the entire island. We are gonna focus on agricultural areas that agriculture is taking place, so agricultural areas, as well as areas outside of that. We're going to look at our watershed, we're going to look at the forest area, the entire island, so nowhere will be left out. We have over 157 points, georeference points in Grenada, throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, where we're going to go, the technicians from the Ministry of Agriculture, and we're going to take soil samples.
So I'm assuming there's a theme structure that will be put in place in terms of
yes.
going around the island.
So we have teams, and it's the agricultural districts, the extension officers from the agricultural districts that will be the main persons collecting these soil samples, together with a delegation from UE.
Okay.
So under this project, we're getting a lot of support from the University of the West Indies. You know, it's 8 countries that would be a part of this soil survey, 8 small Caribbean countries. And within a lot of these countries, we do not have the soil scientists or the expertise to adequately collect these samples. Because you want to ensure that the samples are collected properly so that you get quality results. So hence, we have the support under this project from UE.
Okay.
So we have soil scientists here with us, with our teams that's going out there and taking the soil samples, preparing the soil samples, and a lot of the testing would take place in UE Trinidad. Some of the testing that we have capacity to do here in Grenada will be done here in our produce chemist lab, but the majority of the testing will be done in UE, and it's for most of the countries without a soil lab. That's what will be done. And so the test would be extensive. So in the 1959 soil survey that we did over 60 years ago, it was very basic, looking a lot at the chemical composition of the soil. So
I guess I'm assuming back then the technology that's available today was not available back then. So folks would just make that personal decision in terms of our minimal testing was done in terms to find out really if there's any issue with the soil or something, what we could actually do now.
So we did some physical testing as well back in the 1950s, but now it's going to be more extensive. We're going to do an in-depth, comprehensive analysis of the soil. So we're going to also be looking at the organic matter content in the soil, the soil carbon, aggregate stability, and aggregate stability will tell us which land is suitable for what. The soil carbon in the soil will tell us how we're doing in terms of managing soil, because we know soil and how we are doing in terms of our contribution to climate change, because we know carbon is
that is another important initiative that will comprise of that also.
Right.
Because climate change these days, it also affects the quality of your soil. You understand?
Right, and the soil can impact what happens in terms of climate change, because we know that soil is a living organism, and within soils itself, there is more than 3 billion tons of carbon stored there. And we want to ensure that it's stored there, it's retained there, because if we manage the soil inadequately and it's released, the carbon goes into the atmosphere. And so poor management of soil could lead to increasing greenhouse gases
Okay.
and climate change. So we're going to be looking at the soil carbon. So we're looking at our contribution to climate change. That would also speak to how we manage the soil, what changes we need in terms of soil management. We're going to be looking at the microorganisms in the soil, their activity to see if our soil, we always say soil is a living being, and it has to do a lot with the microorganisms that are present. They look at the microorganisms. It's said that 1 teaspoon of soil has more than 7.88 billion different microbes.
Wow.
So let us see in our soil the microorganism activities, what's happening there, and that would speak to the type of practices that the farmers have been doing over the years.
Tell me, in a small country as Grenada, and with even though a limited land space that we do have in terms of what we people use for agricultural purposes, it's still limited in terms of in comparison to other parts of the world. How beneficial will it be for us doing that soil survey for Grenada? How beneficial will it be?
Very beneficial. First of all, as I said, we're strengthening our soil information. So we'll have that information there that would help us to make decisions, to guide the farmers as to what kind of practices, what kind of land preparation, as we spoke to earlier, that they should undertake to ensure that the soil is properly managed. It would tell us land use suitability. So we grow a variety of crops. So it will tell us which crops are better for which areas, as well. We're looking at soil fertility. So it would tell us what type of nutrients we need to add to the soil. So farmers don't go adding too much fertilizer if it's not necessary, or adding the wrong type of fertilizer, because this soil survey, we're looking at soil fertility, chemical composition as well. So it tells us how much NPK, how much calcium, how much of the different components are in the soil. And we as agriculturalists and farmers, we know how much the plants need. So if you're going to use chemical fertilizers, it's important that you just add what the soil need and not too much. If you add too much, it could lead to other problems like acidification of the soil. Well, our farmers say the soil becomes sour, and then you realize it's no longer productive. So you could tell us how much organic matter is in the soil, how much more do we need to add to the soil to condition it, because it's important for microorganism activity. So it would help us to manage properly the limited amount of soil or land that we have for agriculture, and help us to improve our yields because we're making better production decisions.
All right, great. We're due for a break. Let's take it. There's so much we could talk about in terms of soil this morning. I am suddenly learning a whole lot more than I thought. I thought I know stuff about the soil. I know nothing. Anyway, let's take a break, folks. We're coming right back. Stay with us. It's To The Point for today, Monday, the 3rd of April. We're coming right back.
Family avoid HIV, get the education from the Grenada Planned Parenthood Association. We offer STI screening, gender-based violence counseling, prenatal and postnatal checks, injectables, condoms, pap smears, and other sexual reproductive services. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Pointu Street, St. George's. Whether male or female, it doesn't matter. We're here to make your life better. Grenada Planned Parenthood Association. For appointments, call 440-3341.
High impact doors and windows can be yours. Now available at Caribbean Shutters Windows and Doors, agents for Domus Windows and Doors. Get custom-made UPVC products with a 20-year warranty on frames and a 5-year warranty on hardware, complete with installation and so much more. Visit our showroom at 11 Frequente Industrial Park, St. George, or call 439-1293, or visit our website at www.domuswindows.com.
Island style. Tiles annual Easter clearance sale is here. And boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tiles to be had with discounts from 10 to 35% off on all tiles store-wide. Buy all we have in a low stock model and watch your discount skyrocket with a huge 15% off. Plus get chip edge tiles for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom on Monroe Road in Grandans or call 439-TILE. That's 439-8453. Sale ends Holy Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
Hey, welcome back, listeners and viewers, to The Point for today, Monday the 3rd of April. And we're talking this morning with Miss, of course, that's Alison Haynes, from the Ministry of Agriculture. She's an agronomist. And we're talking about the soon to be implemented, or she said, well, it's already kicked off already. You understand, it was already launched. We're talking about, the soil survey initiative. Now, let's talk about the reason for the initiative in this particular segment here. What is the reason for the initiative?
Well, like I said, a number of the small island developing states, we're still trying to reach to that sustainable development goal. Well, we're still trying to work towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goal 15.
Yeah.
That is to reduce land degradation. So the importance is to get the collaboration between the countries. I mean, all of the small island developing states that's participating in this project, they're very similar in terms of environment, developmental issues, in terms of our challenges, the climate issues. So the decision was to come together, to work together to achieve that sustainable development goal. And I think that was one very important reason for this project. Like I said, it's a multi-country project. I just want to mention at this point that the project is being funded by GEF,
yes,
the Global Environment Facility. And the project has a heavy budget. The National Soil Survey is just one component of the project. And it's under the phase 1 of the project. So the project also has a phase 2.
Yeah.
But one important thing to note is that this project is being funded in collaboration with the governments of the 8 countries. So Jeff has put up $8 million towards this project.
Okay.
Right? So that's the amount of funding that was offered to us, to the countries by Jeff, $8 million.
How many countries within how many countries that are?
8 countries.
8 countries.
So you have St. Lucia, Jamaica, Haiti, Antigua, Barbuda, Belize, Guyana, Grenada. Did I say Barbados?
No.
It is 8 countries.
8 countries involved.
Right. And these 8 countries altogether has a co-financing amount of $25 million.
Okay.
So Jeff, the funding insurance agent, $8 million, and countries $25 million. So that speaks to how important this project is to countries. That they have more into the project. They have put up more financing altogether than Jeff itself. Right, so it's a very, very important project for us, because I believe that all countries understand the importance of the soil for not only agricultural development but for sustainable development overall.
You don't exactly
across all sectors.
Most areas you don't want to give, and after doing this survey you may find out there may be the instance of wanting to put a hotel somewhere.
Right.
And you may say, we put in this hotel there and the soil there is better suited for farming.
Yes,
You
better
understand?
suited for
Or you
farmers.
may find out there's a particular crop that may yield
True.
in that particular area much better.
Much better
Much better.
than-
So you may this now you could go back to governments or folks in the planning authority and so forth and say, hey, we don't recommend that before that
That's
particular and so forth.
Right, that's the idea. And this project is not only, like I said, it's 5 components, so there are other components.
So tell us about the other
the-
components that is involved in this.
The soil survey is one.
Just one component.
So there is also a component to address the causes of land degradation. Right? So we're going to undertake different initiatives for rehabilitation of land in different countries. So for example, in Grenada, we have 5 intervention sites that we're going to look at what are the causes of land degradation and implement sustainable land management practices in these areas and test the effectiveness of these practices over time, right? So that we can address that. So in Grenada, one such site is a Les Avocat watershed in St. David's, and we know it's a very important watershed because it feeds the Les Avocat Dam that supplies water to the community of St. David's. So we're going to address the issue of land degradation there.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing replanting initiative because we know one cause of the land degradation in that area is deforestation, cutting some of the trees and so. So there are a number of different initiatives that we're going to implement. There, we are working with soil scientists and land experts that have visited the sites already, all the sites that I'm going to speak about, and did the assessment, and they're going to come up together with personnel within the Ministry of Agriculture some of the interventions that would take place at the site to address the issue of land degradation.
Okay.
So Les Avocat is one. So that's what I'm saying. It's not only limited to agricultural areas, it's outside because Les Avocat is a forest area and it's a watershed. We have Chambo farmlands. That's over 200 acres of farmlands in the Chambo Plains. So it's an agriculture area. We're going to look at addressing the issue of land degradation there. And then we have 3 sites in Carriacou, Bellevue South, Dumfries, and Limleh. So we're going to be addressing the issue of land degradation there that is caused primarily in one site in Carriacou because of the overgrazing with the animals and we know erosion.
Yes.
So we're going to have intervention on these sites. So it's over 2,500 acres of land we're looking to rehabilitate under this project in Grenada. Overall, within all of the 8 countries, is 15,000 hectares of land we're going to be rehabilitating among the countries. So in Grenada, we stand to benefit significantly in terms of addressing the issues of land degradation. Under this project, we're going to look at establishing model farms that are going to use best practices, best agricultural practices, so that we can have a lot of training initiatives there for farmers. We're going to have lands in Grenada that is being utilized efficiently. That it's going to be a model for anyone to come in and learn about these practices, see how it's done, and will help to build our resilience to climate change because of these practices. So we have farms that are resilient to the climate change, farms that are adequately managed. So that's another component. Another component of the training of the project, is training, capacity building. Under the project, we're going to do a number of short-term courses in georeferencing, soil sampling.
And that is generalized to farmers or just in the
farmers, technicians, because when we have the model farms, the farmers can come in as well and learn. The extension officers, all of our stakeholders can come in, they can do practical sessions there on the farms. We also want to strengthen our framework, policy framework and all these things under this initiative, get the private sector involved also in this whole fight, I would say, to reduce land degradation. So we want to get the private sector involved and create the enabling environment create the awareness. That's another component of the project among locals.
No,
on
let me
land
ask
degradation.
this. There are probably someone out there who's listening to this program, and the idea have come to mind. I'm happy that this particular soil survey initiative has been put together, and probably they have their private property and they want to be they would like to have their soil tested. Would it be something that you would open to come in? I mean, I know you mentioned there's lots of that already sorted out in terms of areas that you will be going to, but could that be instituted into the survey also?
So the points for sampling has already been predetermined. Right? And
So
it was
you may have missed
distributed
something.
randomly throughout the island so that we can capture all of the different soil type, all of the different peculiarities, right? So it's random throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. So a point may not necessarily fall in your land or your area or where your house is,
Okay.
but there are points close by in a similar soil similar soil type, I should say, a similar within the area that can give you an indication
Of what
as
your-
what your soil is, give an indication of what is the status of your soil, I should say. Right, so you can use that information and make whatever decision you need to make.
Interesting.
And of course, within the Ministry of Agriculture, we have capacity to do some soil testing. So if you want one, just for your area, we have some capacity to do it. We can do pH, for example. We have pH meters. We can test for NPK. So we can do some level of soil testing, not as comprehensive as the one that we're doing under the soil survey, but we can still do some type of soil testing. But like I said, the results from this soil survey could be used for the entire island because there will be points falling. So for example, if you live in Maribor, it may not fall in your land in Maribor, but somewhere in Maribor, or 3 or 4 points in Maribor, and so we'll be able to get an idea as to the situation, the status of the soil in that area.
And because of the closeness of the properties, most likely your soil will be similar to someone
right.
else. There's someone who's been calling for a wee bit. Let's entertain them. I'm sure they may have a question they may like to ask. Caller, good morning. How are you?
Oh,
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Now, I've been listening very carefully, not only this morning, but some other time, and I get the impression that callers seem not to be able to, make an input or ask questions. Now, the thing about it is that we talk about so many different things, climate change, etc., etc. I want to say very clearly, there are some practices that, long ago people did. For example, pen manure, the compost heap, you add lime to the soil when it is sown and that. And I'm not hearing anything about it. I have no question that people going to university and studying, doing agriculture with concern soil, etc., etc. But what about those things? For example, we had areas where agriculture was practiced heavily. The politician just as it would drive away the farmers, you have buildings and all sorts of things coming to it. I am getting the impression like the farmer, he's been working and he doesn't know anything and people coming in now. I have no quarrel with that. You have to do this and you have to do that and you have to do that. And as I mentioned, what about these practices, the pen manure, compost heap, etc. And I know for a fact where artificial manure has been used in the soil and caused the soil to deteriorate. That is a fact. Now, let me hear your guess, please.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning.
Good morning, caller.
I understand what the caller is going at, but we're really talking about the survey and stuff that will be implemented soon.
Yeah. So thank you, caller. So based on what the caller have said, we both agree that farming practices have changed over the years. In the past, we use We incorporated a lot of pen manure in the soil. We did composting. We used less agrochemicals, etc. Now we have seen a complete shift where farmers refuse or to use compost or reduce. They have reduced significantly on the amount of compost, pen manure, and these things that they have incorporated in the soil. So there's a shift. Farmers now depend heavily on the agrochemicals. So there's a complete shift, and hence the importance and the reason for the soil test, because farmers like evidence. There are persons, there practically want you to prove to them that what you're saying is true. So me just going to the farm and saying, you need to use pen manure, it may not convince a lot of the farmers.
Because they're looking for the faster yield for their product.
So they're looking for facts. Yeah, because they're looking for faster yield. So if I go and I say, okay, we recently conducted a soil survey. The soil survey shows that your soil has no or little organic manure in it, and I explained to them the importance of the organic manure and why they need to incorporate the pen manure and the compost in the soil. It might convince them. Instead of me guessing and saying we just need to use pen manure, you may not have enough. Now I'll be able to tell them it is because of this. Look at this number, it is showing that it is low. Some farmers, they are heavily dependent. As we said, they've changed. They're using a lot of chemicals, a lot of fertilizers. Many a times, farmers may very well be inputting or using fertilizers that they do not need to input. And that in itself could increase or would increase their cost of production, because they're throwing fertilizer in the soil. The plants could only take up a certain amount of fertilizer. So the soil holds the fertilizer and the plants would take only what they need. The others will remain in the soil.
Is there an option of over-fertilizing your
There is. And when you over-fertilize, it is a dangerous thing. And that's what I said. It can lead to land degradation, which is acidification, or what the caller just mentioned, as we say in local terms, your soil becomes sour. And you realize no matter how much, because your soil, you inputted so much chemical in that soil, the soil pH have changed, because plants, I don't want to go too much into the science, but plants thrive well, they grow best, they take up nutrients when the soil has a neutral pH, similar to the water that we drink, right? 5.5 to 7.5 is that range, right? Best pH is 6.5. But when we add these fertilizers, we change the pH of the soil. We either bring it down or we bring it up. And once the pH is not within that range, no matter how much fertilizer you put there, the plants would refuse to take it. It would not be able to absorb the nutrients. So it's important that you know what you're putting into the soil. And also, if we put excess of some nutrients, for example, nitrogen and all these things, when we irrigate our crops, it leaches down into the water table, into our rivers, and could create more problems. So the soil test would tell us what are the chemical nutrients are we having in the soil, and what we need to add. So we do not add too much or we do not add too little if we are going to use chemical fertilizer. And the soil test could very well tell us that we need a combination of both organic matter in our soil and chemical fertilizer if we are going to use chemical fertilizer, because some farmers believe if I'm using chemical fertilizer, I do not need to use organic manure.
I think we do have a caller online. Let's entertain this caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Telesford, and good morning to your guests. I want to think similar to your last caller. Now, we have to equate agriculture with health, because our food is our medicine, and our medicine is supposed to be our food. Now, we have foreign people always coming in and tell us what to do with this, what to do with that, as though, we dropped from somewhere and we don't know anything. And we have an increase to maybe epidemic proportion or maybe pandemic proportion, non-communicable disease. And I believe that these things derive from the kind of information that the foreign people are coming in and tell us to do. We have our seeds, our plants, our trees, and we not in control of the propagation of this thing. They tell us what to do. They do their thing in the lab, and they just give it to us, and we don't know if this is what is killing us or whatever is doing to us. So we cannot just say, oh, soil degradation. So it's what they're putting in the soil, what they are doing in the atmosphere, in the technological era that is degrading the soil, that is having things to do with the air we breathe, the water we drink. All are contaminated because of technology. They are displaying things in the air. They are exposing the earth more to the sun, and all these things that are being done in the world that is causing these things. So all these things about soil degradation and soil survey and these people don't know. These people they have an objective. They have an aim, and that aim is to destroy us. Recently, I was listening to a video where they talk about...
Caller, would actually take another 10 seconds and wrap, please.
Yes, the doomsday clock. So when they also will self-destruct, and that's all part of the new world order. All these things that they're telling us, they have a plan for some years, a plan for that years, a plan for that years. That's what they're trying to...
Caller, I want to say thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Since we drew for a break, let's take it, and when we come back, we talk some more in the next segment. We're coming right back, folks, after the break. Stay with us.
You know, one day I woke up and, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. Nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop, that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey.
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Welcome to the highly anticipated second season of Caribbean Medical TV, the first and only medical TV series that showcases the Caribbean and the emerging issues on all health and wellness forums in our region. Like season 1, the voices of our very own citizens, our local and regional doctors and medical experts forged the basis of the show. This season, we take the first groundbreaking original show even further. This series aims to empower our people with knowledge, from ways of detecting to ways of healing ourselves, protecting citizens with chronic diseases from COVID-19, while showing how they can manage their conditions effectively and safely receive needed health care while preserving what constitutes the very core of our Caribbean culture, its predilection for flavor, spirit, and rhythm. This is truly a holistic wellness agenda for our Caribbean people.
Let me say welcome back, listeners and viewers, once again to The Point for today, Monday, the 3rd day of April. I have Ms. Alison Haynes with us this morning, and she's an agronomist within the Ministry of Agriculture. And this morning, our topic line is, are we speaking pertaining to the soil survey initiative that is already started. And we spoke a lot about the process of it and what are some of the outcomes that are expected from the soil survey. But you know, there's always if we forget to mention, or we don't mention sometimes, the implementing agents for this particular initiative. Folks would like to know. Tell us about that.
So the implementing agent for this project is the Partnership Initiative for Sustainable Land Management. In short, we say PISLM. For me, it's my first time working with the PISLM, and it's a pleasure. It has been a wonderful experience partnering and working along with the PISLM. We're getting all the necessary support that we need from the implementing agency so that we can efficiently implement this project. I just want to mention also that the project manager is Mr. Trevor Thompson.
Okay.
And luckily, he's based here in Grenada.
He was supposed to join us this morning.
Yes, he was supposed to join us
this morning.
But he has an important meeting with another country, Haiti, just to finalize some aspects of their soil survey.
Okay.
So I guess he's running a bit late. And so we're fortunate to have him here. So as a focal point, any questions, anything we need, any support I need, I have him here on island, unlike the other countries. You know, so that's a plus for us in Grenada. Having the project manager here as a Grenadian, based in Grenada.
That's good.
Yeah. Right, so I just want to say thanks to Mr. Thompson and the PISLM for all of the support.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. I guess we lost that caller. Now, before we entertain another caller, a question I would like to ask, the surveys was wrapped up. How does the information that are gathered or will be gathered from the survey? How would especially the farmers and so forth? How would they know, or would there be a release or some way of them finding out how the whole survey went about and so forth?
Yes. So the information would be accessible to everyone, farmers, technicians, all stakeholders. The information would be digitized. So that persons can get access to it easily online. Whether or not there'll be any fees, I'm not sure. I don't believe so, or maybe for certain stakeholders. But it will be there. It will be digitized. We will produce a number of maps with the results that farmers can easily read, easily look at, and you can easily see the results. We'll try to make it as easy as possible for the farmers and for the extension officers. We would have a number of sessions to present the results to our stakeholders, including the farmers. And we would, of course, it's something that extension officers will be using every day to help farmers.
Because I guess when they do visit farms and stuff, the information they've been able to share with them.
So the information will be with the Ministry of Agriculture, it will be digitized, so extension officers will have access to the information even on their phones.
So I guess farmers will be able to even use it.
The farmers as well.
Will be able to use it. Individuals who may want to get into farming, or as we mentioned earlier, you may want to know the particular soil or area that you're at. How relevant it is for the whatever I want to do in that particular area and so forth. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Morning.
Good morning to you.
There's two questions I want to ask. The fertilizer we use, does it impact or does it increase the pH level in the soil? That's the first question. The second question is, I want to know if the physical planning is involved in this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you also, caller. You want to answer the caller's question?
So fertilizers do have a direct impact on the pH of the soil. Fertilizers are the chemical fertilizers we're talking about here. They are acids. So the more fertilizer you put into your soil indiscriminately, so if you put the quantity of fertilizer that the crop needs. So that's why it's important to have this soil testing information to make the decision as to how much you input into the soil. Then it's fine. But if we apply fertilizer indiscriminately, and as we know it, most fertilizers that we use are acids, it will tend to reduce the pH of the soil, making the soil acid. And that would affect now the plant's ability to absorb the nutrients, because remember, as I said, plants only absorb nutrients at a neutral pH. So that's why it's very important to be mindful the quantity of the fertilizer that you put into the soil. Ensure that you do not put in too much, because too much can be damaging to the soil. Remember, the soil holds the nutrients that we put in, or the fertilizer that we put in, until the plants take it, absorb it. And if that does not happen, if the plants does not absorb it, it remains there. Remaining there could mean that that fertilizer could combine itself with other chemicals that are in the soil and create acid compounds that would make our further degrade our soil, make the soils even more acid. Some of it, of course, with rain and irrigation, we would lose some of it, as I said, runoff because of erosion, leaching into the soil, leaching into the water table, and that in itself can cause another issue. But fertilizers do make your soil acid. Some fertilizers are more acid than others, so you have to be mindful as well. If you have a soil that is slightly acidic, you want to use fertilizers that are less acid. So for example, a nitrogen-rich fertilizer, a fertilizer with, let's say, sulfate of ammonia, with sulfur, for example, would it's more acid than a nitrate of ammonia, for example. The sulfur in that fertilizer makes it more acid than the nitrate. So you have to decide which one is best based on the existing pH of your soil, so do not further make the soil acid.
But that's where the knowledge of the type of soil you have comes
the type of soil you have
in there now,
yeah.
and they probably have testing done, and testing are done locally already, but just that the survey now will even help them more, or make it easier them to know for the soil in that particular area.
Yes, and the soil test could say, okay, because your soil is acid, or if my soil is slightly acidic, you should tend not to use the fertilizer, but use instead the organic matter, the compost, spent manure, for example, and you would need to lime your soil. So you would need to add some of the calcium in your soil to change that, to bring that pH up, because the calciums are more bases, alkaline in nature.
The caller did also ask the input or contribution of the physical planning within the survey. Is that?
Well, the physical planning unit, they are not directly working with the collecting of the soil samples or anything, but the intention is that whatever the results from this soil survey would help them in their work, to help them to be more efficient in terms of what they do, and to help them to make decisions
they make.
In terms of development, road development, whatever development projects that they're going to implement, etc.
Okay, let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning. For years in this country, we've heard it's been touted about a land use policy. Does soil type have anything or any bearing on the land use policy? Thank you.
Of course, soil type and even the terrain would have a lot to do with the land use policy and how the land is used, because the soil type will tell you how suitable it is for agriculture. So if you have, for example, I don't want to call it, let's say a capital clay soil, and the capital clay soils are the red soils that we have. It's nice, it's deep, it's free draining, and we have a lot of these soils in St. David's, a nice reddish looking soil, free draining, it's free from, if you realize this soil is free from debris, stones. That type of soil is ideal for farming, as opposed to, let's say, a tegwa Yeah, that drainage is difficult and all of these things. So the type of soil, the fertility of the soil, the physical properties of the soil would influence the land use.
Okay.
The land use of the soil.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Yes, I want to mention this now. Climate change has been mentioned, and I am getting, or listeners are getting the impression that the carbon emission that goes into the air, and we just coming from the soil. What about deforestation? And that is a fact. Deforestation. The Creator has placed trees to offset the imbalance. And now, I mean, we get in a different thing. What I've learned in geography years ago about schoolboy, is this null and void?
No, caller, I think basically we're saying the same thing. When I speak about carbon in the soil, I'm also speaking to the trees, because remember the trees are anchored in the soil, their root system are in the soil, and a lot of it goes from the tree straight down to the entire tree down to the root system, and that's how a lot of when the trees capture, they take in the carbon dioxide, that's how it gets into the soil. Okay. So the less trees we have, of course, the less carbon the soil is able to capture. It would have less carbon sequestration, and it would have more carbon left in the atmosphere. Okay. So it's basically the same thing. When you have these same trees, when they let's say you have organic matter, the trees rot. If the trees die or you cut them down, and a lot of the debris from the trees would incorporate themselves in the soil, and that's the carbon right there, because the carbon is within the trees, the roots, the plants, the stem of the trees, whatever the remains of the trees. Yeah. So it's important to have to plant trees so that we can continue to capture the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And when we actually destroy the trees, remove the trees, cut the trees down, that you do not engage in burning, but instead you can leave the trees to decompose, and that is how you're getting the carbon again into the land. Right.
Let's take our final caller for this morning, and then we come with a final summary of the topic this morning. Good morning to you, caller. Welcome.
Yes, good morning, GT, and to your guest. I just heard a very interesting comment that the result of the survey would have an impact on land use policy. So my question is, because I've heard in the past from past surveys and so that Mount Hartman has very good soil for agriculture. So I'm asking your guest now, is that true?
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. That was our final caller. You want to answer that, caller, and we come to make a summary of what we spoke about for the morning?
Yes. So, like I said, the results of the soil survey would tell us if Mount Hartman has very good soil. I know that there are a number of farmers farming in Mount Hartman, and they have been doing very well with their practices, but let us wait. Like I said, we did a soil survey in over 60 years, so we can wait on the results. Mount Hartman will be surveyed, that area will be surveyed, and the results would tell us how fertile the soil is in Mount Hartman. Because we know that farmers have been farming there over the years. So let's wait, let's see whether the farmers have been farming sustainably and it has not affected the soil and it's still fertile, or if there is a change in the fertility based on the soil survey. All right. So I think it's important to wait on the soil survey since it's almost here.
Mercedes, this is where we come to get set to wrap up. I would like you to make that final appeal, final acknowledgement to folks when they see the teams come around. Of course, they know being cooperative and so forth in terms of what they will be going about doing.
Mm-hmm. That's the final point I really wanted to make. The teams will come around to the different villages, Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique, I can tell you I've been a part of the team last week. It's not an easy task. Grenada is very hilly. So, and the sun is very hot. So we'll be out there, and in whichever way you can facilitate the team in allowing them access from last week's experience. Many points fell within persons' property, if you're close to the yard space. You may have your dogs. If you can assist, hold the dogs, allow us to come in. It's a very important initiative. You can also provide us with some water, because I'm telling you, because of the heat, you tend to consume a lot of water, a lot of liquid. So all in all, I'm just appealing to the public to support the team. The team would be wearing a white jersey. It has PISLM mark on it, so you'd see soil care at the back. Yeah, so that they can be easily identified. They would be having some strange tools in their hands. You might see them with some metal tools. That's to take the soil survey. So we're just looking for the cooperation of the public.
All right. I'm saying, so I want to thank you once again for sharing the info. I'm assuming as the process goes through, feel free if you always want to come back and share the information with the viewing and listening audience. Thank you once again for educating us on the process of soil. You being an agronomist, certainly learned a whole lot from you this morning. Thanks once again.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hey, folks, that's how we take a wrap for today's program of To The Point. Join us again for another edition tomorrow here on Classic 105 and GBN TV. Have yourself a good one. That's what we say goodbye.